So our first guest today is Lisa Sugar. Lisa Sugar's pop culture passion inspired her to author a blog in 2005. Joining forces with her husband Brian in 2006, she transformed her hobby into today's POPSUGAR. As president, she's grown POPSUGAR into the #1 lifestyle media company for women, with 500 global employees and 2.4 billion monthly content views. Lisa's book, which you all have, Power Your Happy, details how she started POPSUGAR and found her own happiness, and she's excited to share that story with all of you here at Glassdoor Summit. Please join me in welcoming Lisa.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Lars. Thank you, Glassdoor. My name is Lisa Sugar. I'm the president and founder of POPSUGAR, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you about my personal mantra, working hard and playing nice, and how this allowed me to create my dream life and dream job and a culture that I'm really proud of. So first, let me tell you how I started this. To give you a little context on the company that grew out of my living room, we are a modern media company. POPSUGAR is for everyone looking for fashion, beauty, fitness, food, and more. It's for my babysitter, Carrie, who is in love with Game of Thrones and always looking for the latest new trend shirt to buy. It's for my best friend, Jamie, who just had her 3rd baby and is looking for a quick recipe, a laugh in her day, or a 5 or 10-minute workout that she can fit in the craziness of having 3 children. We provide stories for our audience. They want to learn every day from us. We try to teach them something new. We want to teach them and inspire them to take action. And we want to make them feel like a better, stronger, happier person. POPSUGAR started as a personal hobby, and today it's the #1 lifestyle media brand for young women. It reaches over 100 million people worldwide, and we have billions of content views, as Lars also just mentioned. So now we have over 500 employees. It got pretty big, definitely bigger than what I thought when I first started. So you guys all have a copy of my book. It's a sneak peek coming out next week, and I'm really excited about the book, Empower Your Happy. And I basically wrote this because I kept getting asked the same question over and over for the past 10 years, and that was, how do I get a job like yours, and how did you do it? And as an aspiring entrepreneur, I wanted to create a culture and a company that I loved, and so people often ask about our culture and how we've got people to stay at our company for 5, and now we have a handful going on 10-year anniversaries with us, which just really makes me so proud of what we've created. So my book and my talk today is going to be about those 2 things. So first, I saw this shirt on a cute girl, and I thought, wow, that's really cute. And then I was like, actually, that's really sad. We live in this world where everyone is, TGIF and Friday, and they're dreading Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and just can't wait to get back to that Friday. So I was hoping in an ideal world that I live in that we'd be able to create a shirt that had happy faces, some form of a happy face every single day of the week. But I also realized that that's unrealistic, and we can't be happy 24/7. But I do believe that if you could integrate more of what you love into your everyday, one small step at a time, then you are powering your happy. Whether the final result is changing your entire career or just figuring out how to make more time for that hobby that you love, then you're powering your happy. In my case, it did change my career. It allowed me to take my hobby from my living room to a full-blown media company. But the steps to how I got here are the same regardless of the outcome. So my goal is to share this secret on how I got to my happy place for myself and the many people that POPSUGAR employs. In the book, I talk a lot about talent and passion. And really, this isn't a new thing. In any career book, you're going to hear, you have to figure out what it is you're good at and what it is you really want to do with your life. But for many, this is a daunting task. This is not an easy thing to do. I have a lot of friends my age, they're still trying to figure out what they want to do, and that's okay. In fact, no one could have ever predicted I was going to get here. I grew up in Maryland, and the senior superlative in my high school, for me, was most likely to never leave home. And here I am 3,000 miles away running a company that I love with 500 employees. So how did I get here? Well, my dad gave me some very simple advice. He said, do what you love. It's easier said than done. But he lived and did this, and he was a great example for me. He's in his 70s, he's still working. I never know if he's going to retire. Even this morning, he gave me a great pep talk. He really just always said, do what you love. I mean, he even was like, we didn't even know you'd end up like this. This is great, you know? So just being able to constantly make him proud makes me super proud. But as much as I struggled in school, and I didn't go to an Ivy League school, and I didn't have this, you know, crazy education with straight A's the whole way, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I knew I liked writing, and I knew I liked reading, but I never thought I could actually make that a career in real life. So basically, I was just completely clueless. And first off, I think it's okay to not know what you want to be when you're 6, 16, 26, 46. It's just really important to be trying new things. And if you keep trying new things and experimenting, you will eventually find you're happy. In my 20s, I did not have a grand plan. I knew that I wanted to be a mom, I knew that I wanted to work, and I knew that I wanted a lifelong partner. But other than that, even though I had these big dreams, I didn't actually know what I was going to do during the day, every day, to make money and create these big dreams that I had. So I spent my 20s mostly at some pretty crappy jobs, and being the optimist that I am, I did try to look on the brighter side. I tried to take away what lessons I could get out of those jobs, what skills could I take from those jobs. But at the end of the day, I still mostly felt like this. So let me tell you about some of those shitty days and shitty jobs. I was staring at Excel sheets that made my eyes hurt. I had bad bosses who made me feel like I wasn't smart enough, good enough, or a valued employee. There were definitely tears. Tears when I went home at night, probably tears like during the day in the bathroom. I just wasn't doing what I loved, and I knew that there needed to be an end goal for me to stop doing this at some point. At the same time, I did take away things that I loved from the places where I was, and I was extremely grateful for the opportunities that I did have. There was some great company culture that I loved that I did want to take with me to when we started POPSUGAR. I made some great lifelong friends. And at the end of the day, I was in advertising, and I loved the creative environment. I just didn't like the fact that I wasn't doing a creative job, so it wasn't speaking to me. And I knew I didn't want to do this job forever, so it was clear that I needed to look for signs. So for me, those Excel charts were not speaking my language. And I needed to figure out what was going to speak my language. And it was magazines that I was reading cover to cover, every new beauty product I was trying, staying up late night to watch any television that I could. I had and I still have, a passion for blue purses, but this was well before I had 3 daughters that I could justify my collection on. I also pretty much knew where Matt Damon was at any given time. But what is my love for Matt Damon? What could I do with my love for Matt Damon and blue purses? Well, I turned to my husband. This is my husband, Brian, at age 6, and this is his favorite word, doing. Brian is a doer. He loves to build brands, build products. He loves to code. He loves to do. And so he's always said this from a very early age, doing. So when I needed a push to figure out what was next for me, he helped build a blog, taught me some basic HTML, and then I was off. And I was writing, and I wrote any spare second I had before I went to work in the morning, during a lunch break, when I got back home, until I went to bed. And the important part about doing was it gave me this huge focus group. People started finding POPSUGAR, they loved it, they reacted to it, and it just fueled the fire for me to do more, and I loved it. So it really was so important for me to learn that I really just needed to be doing. POPSUGAR exploded in those first 6 months, and I decided to leave my job in advertising and go all in to create and get this large audience. I was also pregnant with our first daughter. 6 months later, Brian saw how big POPSUGAR was getting, and he decided he was all in too, and he left his job and said, let's turn this into something big. So by taking that small step and getting that feedback from our audience along the way, POPSUGAR went from being a hobby into a full-blown company in no time. But it wasn't just me, and it wasn't just Brian, it was us and Beyonce. I think it's really important to build an all-star team, and I think that that team doesn't have to be people that you even know in real life. So while we obviously have created an amazing team internally, and I'll get to that later, I think it's really important to be inspired to the people that talk to you. So when I see these kind of quotes from Beyonce about turning down things that you don't believe in, there were days when I felt like I was saying no too much for POPSUGAR, but I really wanted to protect our brand, and I wanted to keep it what I really wanted it to be. Or I'm gonna keep running because a winner don't quit on themselves. To me, POPSUGAR's #1, and I'm really proud of where we've come today, but there are copycats left and right, and there are people testing us, and we have to keep pushing ourselves and keep going and not quitting just because somebody else is doing something that they think is better than us. So the bottom line is, you gotta find your support group, It's, for me, everyone from my SoulCycle instructors to people on Facebook comments that I've never met in real life to those like Beyonce. Which leads me to what I'm going to talk about the most for this, which is working hard and playing nice. So this is my personal mantra. I say this all the time. It's really my core values for myself and values that we've created within POPSUGAR. But what does this actually mean? Well, working hard is just really figuring out what you love doing, that it comes so naturally, and you're doing it nonstop. So for me, this is Katie. This was our firstborn. She was born on a Thursday. I was back to writing on Sunday. Why? Well, it was the MTV Movie Awards, which used to be a really big thing about 10 years ago. And I felt my audience needed me. They wanted me back up and covering the event, and so I was there. I was there for them, and they were there for me. It also meant when I went to Paris with Brian on a trip, I stayed in the room to write because, you know, cafes didn't have internet at the time, and I really felt the need to get stories up before I went out and explored the city streets and enjoyed a vacation. And it also meant when I went to my best friend's bachelorette party, I had access to this amazing interview, and this was before any of the magazines were online yet, and I wanted to get these quotes up before anyone else had seen them. So I sat in the bathroom floor of the hotel room before going out to a bachelorette party to make sure I got these quotes up before anyone else. So working hard, if you love it, it just is effortless and it's addictive, and that is what happened for me. Playing nice. Playing nice for me is a three-prong approach. And first and foremost, from a personal perspective, I just believe that you need to be polite. You need to treat people with respect. This was what I was taught as a kid growing up. It's what I am trying to tell my 3 daughters day in, day out. Just be nice, be a good girl. I want to drill that into their heads as much as I can. From a company perspective, you can see here, these are actually the shorthand version of our values. We have a lot of values, but they all have a running theme. And as you can see, when you see things like kind, positive, collaborating as a team, we want our team to feel valued. We want them to love where they come every day. We really try to make sure that we can encourage career growth. We even tell them if there's a job that you think you want to do, write your own job description. Let's figure this out together and see if we can make that job a viable job for you within the company, because we're still so young and we're growing. We can do that. It also means all the execs from day one, we've never sat in offices. And I know a lot of companies do this now. When POPSUGAR started in 2006, we were always out in the open, Brian and I and everyone, and it's still that way. We don't ever want a corner office on the 56th floor. That would never work at POPSUGAR. It's just not who we are. So that is playing nice from a company perspective. And then from an industry perspective, it basically means playing fair. I really believe that karma's a bitch, and a lot of our competitors are playing a lot of nasty games and doing a lot of things that I think are gonna hurt them in the end. Some of these companies have already folded. Some probably won't be around in 10 years. And these are things like buying traffic or playing with numbers to make them seem as if they're number one when they really aren't. So over time, we're gonna see what happens to those guys, but POPSUGAR, we're gonna stay clean, and we believe that that'll help us be more prosperous in the end. So as you can see from this lovely collage of my life, I'm really grateful for what I've created, and I love what I do every day. I love going to work on a Monday as much as I love running around like a crazy soccer mom on a Saturday and finding time to fit in SoulCycle on the weekends. And this leads me to my next most commonly asked question, which is, how do you do it all? How do you have work-life balance? And to that, I say, forget balance. You have to balance your passions, not your time. I don't do it all, but I do what I love, and that's really important to me. I am a Libra, my birthday's coming up, and I'm constantly trying to actually figure out how to make the scales a little more even. But in reality, once they start to get even, I find that Brian and I purposely try to add something else into our lives. So whether it's a new kid, which we're done with that, we got 3 wonderful ones, he's now trying to add another puppy into our lives. And I'm like, well, we already have this really great dog. So there's always something at home that we're trying to sort of uneven. And then from a work perspective, sometimes it's adding in a new company and adding something new that we haven't done yet. And it's really important, we believe, to stress the scales so that we can keep growing. We believe that helps push us and makes us grow. It also has taught me to learn when to say no, and it has also taught me when to ask for help. Brian and I, sometimes we're like passing in the night. He was gone last week, he's gone this week. We had like 24 hours together this weekend. But when we are in town, we make the most of all of our time together. And he and I really prioritize those things that make us happy. So there are days where my calendar's blocked because I'm making sandwiches at my kid's school, or I'm leaving early to go coach soccer. So for the past 15 minutes or so, you guys have heard my story. And while my story is unique to me, I believe that the Power Your Happy approach is universal. Whether your goal is to build a company, learn how to get more out of your current job, or just be happier, Power Your Happy means do more of what you love. It sounds easy, but it's not. So it's critical. You have to start small. And you have to remember to surround yourself with an all-star team, even if you don't know these people in real life. And while you're doing all of this, have fun, work hard, and play nice. That is it. And now I'm answering questions. So if anyone wants to ask me something. You guys are gonna make it easy for me. Okay.
First of all, thank you for the book.
I hope you guys like it.
So, what did you do to just stay focused? Did you set goals, or when you say start small, what kept you focused?
Yeah, absolutely. I did set small goals. So for me, I really wanted to get into the habit of writing every day. That was the most important thing. So I really set that small goal of just making sure I got a story up, 2 stories up, 3 stories up. And like I said, the audience kept giving me such feedback that it became addictive for me. I also really got really geeky into analytics. And when you start writing stories and it's digital, you can see who's coming and where they're coming from. So it really helps you force yourself to want to create more and more. So you learn from that and you keep growing. And yeah, it really was a matter of just carving out time every day.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi. So you and your husband founded POPSUGAR.
Yes.
And initially, you two used to meet with the candidates that you hired. You
Yes.
would interview them. You got to feel out if they had the sugar, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
But now that you've scaled and it's been 10 years, how do you ensure that your HR recruiters and those in your talent acquisition department really pass down those value propositions and hire for culture fit and make sure that everyone who's coming through the doors who's hired feels just as passionate about the brand as you do?
Yes, so hiring is really important to us. We spend a lot of time hiring and training. So once they've made it through the many rounds, I do mostly editorial or exec level, and for me it's a combination, and I think Brian feels the same way too, of a combination of just getting to know this person. Do I want to go have a drink with them after work? Am I going to learn something from them? Those important questions, as well as figuring out if they would bring something new to the company, because we obviously want to bring in new personality, new voices, as well as just understand what it is at the core we stand for, and if at the end of the day they have those same values. And we can pretty much tell after the many rounds of interviews. From an editorial perspective, we do a lot of writing samples, or for video, we'll put them on camera and see how they are. So there's various other filters that before we even get to the real sort of end result of hiring.
Hi, Lisa. I'm Tisha. I'm wondering what time you wake up, first of all.
So I'm actually more of a night owl.
Okay.
So I really don't like waking up too early. But I'm usually up, especially now that the kids are back in school, around 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where do the customers want POPSUGAR to go next, and how do you balance that with your vision for
Yeah,
what you
so-
and Brian would like to see?
Yeah, I think for us, video has been a really large growing part of our company for the past 5-6 years. So I think people want to see POPSUGAR in other places. We hear, globally, we want to continue to expand internationally. We believe we can have larger presence around the globe than we have in some places now. And then in other platforms, we have a must-have box, a monthly subscription box, which came out of the fact that my kids were getting this really fun thing every month, and I was like, I want one of those. And we have editors who are looking at products all day long, and so we thought how great it would be to create a box for people. And it was that first physical thing that we actually did send to them, and people really responded well to that. So figuring out other ways to extend the brand have been really fun, and I think pop-up shops, there's plenty of other ways that we can bring our brand to other places that we are constantly thinking about if it makes sense from a revenue perspective.
So you're open to collaborations. Good to know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay.
We do lots of collaborations.
Okay,
Yeah.
Lisa, sorry. I'm
Yeah.
hoarding.
No, it's
I
okay.
have another question because I'm a huge fan of POPSUGAR.
Oh good, I'd love to hear that. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. And I used to browse Casa Sugar and all the different
Oh,
brands.
yeah,
Fit
that's like
Sugar.
old
Oh, yeah,
school.
girl, I've
You
been there since the
really-
beginning. Yes, yes. Okay, so the room is filled with working women.
Yes.
Sorry, fellas. But, okay, so we see the pictures with your kids. We know that you work with your husband. It all looks peachy keen. And, you do it all, clearly, sister, and you look very put together.
Thank
But
you.
what is the secret sauce? Because if you're doing international, you're global, you're writing a book, you've got a blog, how do you actually do it? What's in the secret sauce?
Yeah.
Give us the gems.
Well, I hire a lot of things. First of all, I fake it. I got no sleep last night. None. I had 2 kids coming up to me 3 times throughout the night. I was like, really, tonight? So faking it is part of it. The other is really, really, really having a great team. I mean, I have a lot of support in the office and a lot of support at home. And in the office, actually, one of the things that was really important is as the company was growing and growing, and really wanting to make sure that we felt that everybody really did understand the values and what POPSUGAR was, we really worked hard on bringing the right people in and making sure that we could make sure everybody felt that they were supported as well. And even writing the book, I mean, I had to lean on my team because I had a day job and I had to step away from that to spend time writing. So really building up the teams, and that's one thing that was also really hard for me when I first started. I was writing day in, day out, I loved it. Taking myself off of the writing every day so I could do all these other great things, but knowing that there's all these other amazing people who could do it was really eye-opening for me, and something that made me say, I have to keep taking steps away from some of the things that I love, because there are these other really amazing people we've hired who want to grow into these positions. And I think a lot of our exec team has learned to do that as our company has grown. And that's also just the beauty of being able to do it from scratch. Another thing to add to that is I brought Katie to the office the first 3 years, which is not normal, but that really allowed me sort of to ease into both motherhood and creating a company. And I think that actually made our company culture feel very family friendly from the beginning. But I have a lot of help too. I'm not doing this alone. Beyonce's there for me.
Good morning.
Hi.
Gender balance is something that a lot of talent acquisition teams have had to struggle with for the last, since forever. I'd imagine that as a lifestyle brand towards women that I'm completely imagining, but I'm imagining that your office is full of women.
Yes.
How is gender balance at POPSUGAR?
I mean, we are 70% women. We're in a bubble. We're very female friendly, but our exec staff is 50-50. I mean, we have a lot of guys. We want more men, but yeah, we are a lot of women, and they're growing up with us and growing through the ranks into leadership roles, and it's amazing.
So is gender balance, as in getting more men on board, your issue?
Totally, but I think that we have plenty of men too. we got enough, yeah. No, but.
Thank you.
Hey there.
Hi.
As a leader of your company, how do you work to create an environment where your employees are happy and they're not sitting in the bathroom stall crying to themselves?
Yes. Well, I like to say the first thing that I try to do, even when I'm interviewing a young kid straight out of school, is make everyone feel extremely comfortable from the beginning. Like if I find out someone's scared of me in the office, I need to figure out why and immediately squash that. And that goes through the ranks to everybody. The other is we started a happiness committee 2 years ago. So one of our co-founders, who's here in the audience somewhere, Krista. Krista is one of our co-founders, and helped me build the entire editorial department in this amazing company. And we realized the edit team's really happy. That's awesome. But there's this whole other part of the company that like doesn't quite run the same as this large edit team. How do we get everybody else really happy? And we actually created this happiness committee, and it was a couple of things. It was, explaining, why unlimited vacation actually might not be the right thing to do, or making sure people really wanted to volunteer, and they'd say they want to volunteer, but then nobody would actually do it. So we created this amazing effort called PS Gives, and we actually give them 2 volunteer days, but then we actually create 2 months where we actually help set up where you can go, and here's an Excel chart, and sign up your name and go with your team. So really being able to do that. We have more happy hours in the office that are hosted by specific teams, and they're themed. So just a lot of like fun things like that we can try to mix the departments up more. And then even just our original orientation, and starting from the beginning to really bring it all back to the values, and making sure everybody is taught the same thing from the beginning when they're hired and come in. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, everybody.